Batman gets a big head. Here's your look at the Mezco Toys. This is the MDS Michael Keaton Batman. The MDS Deluxe Batman from 1989 features an all-new movable eye function. Now there's nowhere for the Joker and his henchmen to hide. Equipped complete with his trusty Batarang and grappling gun, as well as 5 interchangeable hands, the MDS Batman includes a posable leather-like cape, so he can recreate many of the dynamic poses from the film. Batman stands approximately 6 inches tall and features 12 points of articulation. Of course, before we have a look at the MDS Batman, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall the figure stands. You know, ironically enough, the packaging does tout this at being approximately 6 inches. I'm not really sure what is 6 inches, because if I go right to the very top of his head, well, not where the ears are, you're still looking at a figure that's 7.1. If I go right to the very end of his ears, the very tips, those points, well, the figure stands 8.1 inches, not 6. I suppose, to be fair, the packaging said approximately 6, but, I mean, approximately, that's another 2 inches on top of that. Either way, though, the MDS Batman stands at 8.1 inches in height. In centimeters, that works out to be 20.6 centimeters tall. Yeah, I'm not really sure what that's about. The accessories that come included with MDS Batman is his trusty grapple gun. The grapple gun is not foldable, nor is the end removable to be replaced with interchangeable heads. This one is defaulted and molded as such that the hook is even already attached. You can't remove it. It's been painted in a nice gold color, a trademark color for the film. And then, of course, the very nice details done to the grapple gun are all basically just the molded black plastic. It doesn't seem like they've added any additional paint to it. The grapple gun does fit into his hand. I'll show you guys that also in a second. And he also comes included with his Batarang. The Batarang is missing the silver points. I believe there were some silver edges right on the tips. These little sections right here were silver. Here it's just done all in black plastic. There's the side and there's the other side right there. Again, it can fit into Batman's hands. Show you guys that in a second. Remind me if you can. Batman does come included with 5 interchangeable hands. Technically, the hands already in his sockets are closed fists. You're not really going to be able to do much with those fists. So, of course, they include some much-needed interchangeable hands. He does have a gripping hand for the grapple gun, and then he has a hand suited for the Batarang, and then he has yet another hand for holding the grapple gun. Let me just show you how that works. Just kind of fit it, wedge it in between. You can see right there the thumb and the 2 fingers on the side there. And it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It's quite securely in place. Equally so, if you want to have it on the opposite hand, if you want to have your Batman firing it on this side, then again, you just sort of wedge it in place. This time I actually did drop it. Let's retrieve that immediately. Does fit, like I said, into his hand. This one doesn't fit or feel like it sits as securely as the other hand, but it still stays in place. Show you how the Batarang works. We're just going to take the Batarang, wedge it into, see that little slot? I don't know if you can see it right there. There's a little opening right between his finger and his pointer finger, and the Batarang just sort of sits inside of that. So really cool, the fact that he does also come with all those accessories. The only thing he doesn't come included with for a 89 Batman is he doesn't have that zip line that he uses in the museum. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the accessories he comes included with. Now let's have a look at the 89 Batman. What a fantastic representation of one of my still all-time favorite Batmen, and that would be, of course, Michael Keaton. This is taken from the 89 film, which I hope maybe down the road we will be also getting ourselves a Batman Returns version of Batman. But either way, any way you slice it, a good portrait nonetheless for Michael Keaton. Right down to his, I just ate a really sour lemon. The face expression that Michael Keaton usually had when he was Batman is also here on the MDS version as well. Some nice coloring done to around his lips and around the areas of his cheek, and it definitely does capture the likeness of one Michael Keaton, just a little bit larger. I mean, when you look at him proportionally to the rest of his body, yes, these MDS figures certainly do have very large heads. Let me show you something that's really cool about this particular piece, though. If you flip it around, not only do you see the expansion line for the seam on his cowl, the fact that they would even include that is pretty clever, but they also put a wheel in right here. And what is that wheel for? Well, it spins back and forth, and that works itself with the eyes. So again, if you just spin the wheel back and forth, it very cleverly moves the eyes back and forth. They don't move up, they don't move down, they just move side to side, and that's perfectly fine for me. So you can have Batman kind of looking towards you off-side, or if you want to have it, you can just have it dead center. Really clever the way that they've done that. I don't know if this would work necessarily on all MDS figures. Certainly ones that aren't wearing masks and cowls might be trickier to hide the wheel, but it's clever the fact that they would actually put that in a piece like this. As we move our way further down, of course, we're treated to the Bat logo. Somewhat ironic when it comes to the articulation on this guy, and I'll talk about this right now. His head doesn't actually rotate. So if you do want to have Batman turn, you literally have to turn him the same way as he does in the film. Not 100% true. He does have posability in his torso. The torso is very nicely sculpted, all done in black plastic with a very gold belt. I think if anything, this might be one point I might have changed on this figure, is maybe changing the gold to a little bit more of a recognizable yellow. It does seem awfully gold. I'm wondering why they went that route. And then we go further down, we have, of course, the boots, and the very familiar, what were those, Reeboks shoes, and then they simply just covered a cap over top of it. And this was the undersides of his shoes look like. I'm surprised, actually, when you look at the figure, he sort of looks like he's leaning slightly to the side. It's the way that the legs are. You can compensate it by moving the torso, but you'll sort of see that he's got a wider stance on this side, or the leg is a little straighter on this side, sort of giving him, I guess, a heroic pose. You can't move the legs, so you're sort of stuck the way that you have them posed. Of course, you can move the feet. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we do that, though, I want to show you guys the leather-like cape that they gave Batman here, and they've completely finished it on the back. You can even see the way that the suit was assembled, just in a much smaller scale. The interior of the cape seems a different material than the exterior of the cape, whereas this looks more like a leather. The interior looks more like, kind of like a suede or so. It has natural lines running through it, sort of the, I guess, the structure lines running through the cape itself, with only really being the edges being wireframe. So if you want, you can actually pose Batman with his cape extended completely out, kind of like that. Or you can also bring the cape down. I kind of started the review with the cape down. I kind of like the look of that. Or certainly as well, if you want, you can also bring the cape around. A big help is the fact that the cape is wireframe. You can do a little bit more going with it. For this guy's posability, as I'd already mentioned, he doesn't have head articulation, which is actually perfectly fine. If you do want to move the figure, really, you can just move the torso back and forth, and he has a real good, generous amount of posability in the torso section right here. The arms hinge outward at a 90-degree angle. Sometimes, periodically, the hands will pop out. They just sit on ball joints. The arms do swivel, and it's strange the way they've done this. They actually have a swivel point right here, and then what seems really close, they also have a swivel right where the glove is. And I think it's more so the way it's been assembled than anything else. So if you want to have Batman in a bent pose, you're essentially just turning the arm. Just turn the arm like this until you get yourself a bend in the elbow, if that makes any sense. Again, if you want to have the arm straight, you're simply just going to twist the arm out like this until you got yourself a straight arm again. See, there's the bent, there's the straight. The gloves move, and each of the hands move. Sometimes when I was moving the hands, and it just happened not too long ago, the hands do pop out frequently from their sockets. Again, it just pop into place, attaching to those ball joints there. The legs are completely staction, so in other words, you can't really do anything with them. And the boots also can't move. However, the actual foot sections can swivel back and forth on what looks to be a ball joint, as you can hinge the feet up and down. This guy does not have toe articulation. I really don't think he necessarily needs toe articulation. He's overall just a really neat looking Batman. I've collected the MDS figures in the past, usually more so in the horror variety. This is the first time that I've gotten myself a superhero MDS, and I'm really liking the results. I'm hoping this will open the door to more characters, certainly from the movie verse. At the very least, if we're going to be getting ourselves an '89 Michael Keaton Batman in the MDS format, I'd love to also see a Jack Nicholson presented as the Joker as well. And then you could put the two side by side on your display. I'm no slouch to the MDS line of figures from Mezco Toys, but though generally in the past, as you probably have seen on this channel, I've had to look at more so the Child's Play, Chucky's, the Friday 13th Jason Voorhees, and Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger's. Yeah, a lot more of the horror stuff than anything else. Now we're branching into the comic book movie verse, and what better place to look at than the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman, which from a sculpt-wise, boy oh boy, did they ever nail a perfect likeness to Michael Keaton. He's super deformed in the sense that he's got a larger head, something of which you probably couldn't imagine he'd be able to carry around easily on those smaller shoulders. But that's the whole point of these super deformed figures. Larger heads, smaller bodies, and smaller proportions in his limbs. But boy oh boy, did they ever nail the likeness on Michael Keaton. It's less realistic, and I think it sort of borderlines on more a caricature than anything else. I get all the read of a Michael Keaton, right down to the large puckering lips that Michael Keaton is known for Batman. The paint is actually quite good on this piece, though primarily, of course, the rest of his body is all black, but they really did a good bang-up job, though, on the airbrushing that they've done around the face area, around the open section of his cowl. He has accessories, not many to be spoken of course. He only has the grapple gun and the Batarang, which really is missing the zip line that he uses to free Vicky Vale and escape the museum from the Joker. But half the time, if you got an accessory like this, I certainly would never display the figure with it anyways, so I'm not too disappointed that we never got it. I'm hoping, though, that we're going to be getting a continuation, still sticking with the '89 Batman lore. We don't necessarily need a Vicky Vale. We certainly don't need a Commissioner Gordon, and we certainly don't need a Bob the Goon. But to get a couple of versions of the Joker in this style, I would be really quite happy to see that. Maybe a museum, sort of I'm melting. He wasn't really melting, it was just water. The look of artist Joker, and of course a regular Joker as well, maybe with his hat. Now, those are figures I definitely would like to see as a continuation for this fantastic line of MDS figures from the folks over at Mezco Toys. What do you guys think of this Batman? He's pretty cool, isn't he? Have you picked him up for yourself? Or if not, based on this review and this review alone, let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of the Mezco Toys 1989 Michael Keaton Batman. I really like this one a lot. If you guys want to check out some other Mezco reviews that I've done on this channel, there's a whole playlist just for that. And make sure, if you haven't done so already, you turn on and hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification, and keep your peepers peeled. There's going to be a whole lot of videos coming soon to this channel. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.